Alrighty, welcome to episode 224 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has posted Q2 production and delivery results with approximately 410,000 cars produced and 384,000 delivered. It also reported the deployment of 9.6 gigawatt hours of energy storage products. Tesla has announced its Q2 earnings call will be held on Thursday morning, the 25th of July at 5:30 Perth time. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. We've got a fairly small room tonight, so I will just go for seeing if anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please do unmute and say hello. And I think we've all been here before, so it's all cool. Alrighty, who wants to kick off our discussion? Given that we've actually been away for 2 weeks, so obviously I think it was nearly a week and a half ago we got Tesla's production report, which actually was better than the street sort of expected, which is a positive thing, I guess, but still not spectacular. And I guess since everyone else is quiet, one comment I'll make is there were about 10,000 deliveries of Model S, X, and Cybertruck combined for the entire quarter. So if you annualize that, which is always, it's a bit lumpy, actually, I dare say next quarter is going to be a bit different, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in the past, Tesla used to make 100,000 combined Model S and X per annum. So that's about 30,000 per quarter. And of course, we've got the Cybertruck in the mix of those three vehicles. So yeah, I've got to say, it'll be difficult for the greatest of bulls to be bullish about the SX and Cybertruck sales and deliveries. It's not looking fantastic. So don't know what Tesla's going to do about it. I know personally I would just delete the S and X, which obviously doesn't matter to us in Australia because we can't get it anyway, and free up that space in the Fremont factory for something more useful. And obviously for the Cybertruck, bearing in mind you should always bet on a horse called self-interest because it's the only one that's trying. My self-interest says, hey, Tesla, why don't you just go and sell some in Australia? It might not be hundreds of thousands, but we'll give it a good crack. Anyway.
Do you think the Model S and Model X slowdown might be new model waiting? Because there's a lot of, the lag and there was rumors and there's a new refresh coming.
Thing is, I think that refresh model came, it was at least a month ago, I think.
Yeah, but normally there's a lag in the,
Yeah.
people stop buying them ordering 3 months ago and it takes a good while.
Yeah, look, I guess, well, the thing is, we're going to find out next quarter, although next quarter is going to be absolutely fully distorted because of the Trump One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is basically now it's been passed, and it is going to entirely remove the US $7,500 EV tax credit, and that will be, I think it's at the end of September.
Yep.
So it's at the end of, this current quarter, which obviously means not so sure about S and X, but I guess it probably still counts in Cybertruck. Certainly for the 3 and the Y, there ought to be a rather large pull through of demand or bringing forward of demand, so that anyone that wants to buy one or thinking about it, obviously you'd be mad not to buy it this current quarter in America. So I guess what that means then is Q3 is going to be very much distorted compared to what it would otherwise have been in its normal sort of lumpy fashion.
It may also have implications for the lower cost car, because it doesn't make sense to bring it in during this quarter when you know you're going to be battling to get all the cars out. so many demand. So might as well just literally announce it and start delivering on the 1st of October, first day of Q4, for the more
Yes,
affordable cars.
indeed. In fact, that could actually be that could give Tesla an opportunity to actually properly build up, well, not quite ramp the factory, although I guess they could sort of start trying to ramp it as quickly as they could, but get a bit of stockpile. The good thing is if Tesla simply declares these are not available until next quarter, given that those more affordable vehicles are all but certainly not going to be cheaper than $7,500 cheaper than the current threes and Ys. So therefore, it just makes no sense to even try and buy one or even sell one. You might as well just stockpile them, or do your ramp up correctly or carefully, or get your factory or your lines tested and whatever vetted, and then, like you say, Pete, go hell for leather in October when there will literally be a drought of orders for the more expensive models, being everything but the more affordable ones. So yeah, it's going to be a very big distortion, which obviously it's just going to cost everyone a lot of money. I mean, all the EV car manufacturers, because they're going to have to try and expedite as many models as they can, sorry, cars as they can this quarter, and then have almost nothing to do for at least a couple of months thereafter, which is obviously far from ideal, but it is what it is. And of course, if you listen to most longer or Tesla investors or analysts with a longer viewpoint of Tesla, of course, this does nothing to change the fact that Tesla is increasingly an AI company, and robotaxi is going to make the new car sales basically functionally irrelevant. And obviously, that's well before we even talk about Optimus. But yeah, certainly interesting times ahead. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the other markets. Maybe Tesla will, I don't know if it's going to affect the rest of the world, because really Europe gets all its cars from Giga Berlin or Shanghai, as do most of the rest of the world. So really, this is an American phenomenon that's going to occur, but we'll have to see what happens. Alrighty, anyone got any questions or comments?
Well,
Yeah,
a massive thing
Oh,
happened into the
Pete, and then
automobile.
Mike straight after Pete. Sorry, go
Yep.
Pete.
So, so yeah, huge history-making day in the automobile industry as a whole. Probably the most significant thing to happen in 100 years, but you'd never know it because the media didn't cover it. Was the first full self-delivery of a car without any remote assistance, without anybody in the car. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 minutes down the road, which I thought it was going to be. It was a half-hour drive. The car reached speeds of 115 kilometres an hour on the highway, because I think they've got 85-mile-an-hour speed limits there. So it was still within the speed limit, but yeah, and a huge success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, I forgot to include it in the news because it was so long ago, and I was scheming of, do I just have the YouTube video running and have that as my camera? And in fact, I might even do that. I might still do that. Let's just have a
It was
look.
impressive to watch.
It was, and I made my wife watch it. She fell asleep at about the 25-minute mark. But
Yeah.
that was, I've spoken to other people who have not convinced their wives or partners, should I say, to watch it. But
Rochelle did very, very well. She should be proud of herself.
Do
But you
any,
should
uh,
be
any of you
proud of her.
do any of you
I'm
remember those slow TVs on SBS maybe 2 years
Yeah.
ago, where you could sit on the Garn or the Indian Pacific and just travel along with the train, sort of in real time. It
Yeah.
reminded me of that, so it was quite calming, I found.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the
Uh,
fact that it was boring is the
Right.
most exciting part about it because it means that, the technology worked exactly as you would expect it to work. So if it wasn't boring, if it was, you want it to be uneventful. So if it was going to be eventful, well, that would have been potentially a disaster. So it was exciting that it was boring.
Where did it take
Yeah.
place? Sorry,
It was in
in
Austin,
Austin.
Texas.
Austin.
Oh, there you go. Harold's got it going.
Yes, so the video is much prettier than my ugly mug. So we'll just let that run, which should be fairly visible with the screens that we've got. But yeah, and this is the one that's in real time, which
Oh.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It goes for half an hour. So
Yeah.
please forgive my lack of eye contact on the stream, but yes. Anyway, unfortunately, Zoom doesn't have the ability to sort of do like a quarter screen or a picture in picture, which would be good. But anyway, we'll just let that run. The easiest way to look at it is just on YouTube. Just go to Tesla's account, and you can have a look.
Yeah, they've got a short version and a long version.
Yeah.
Yes,
What
that's,
vehicle is it, by the way?
sorry, say again.
What vehicle is it? What model?
Oh, it's a Model Y, so it's a refreshed Model Y, and it was actually an unmodified car, although it did have Robotaxi software installed on it, which then was actually uninstalled when the car arrived at its destination by a Tesla engineer. So obviously it's not really, this is not ready for prime time, since there's obviously a little bit of local faffing around that they need to do. But I guess in time, it will probably, well, it'll probably have the current software, or should I say the standard Tesla software will probably be capable of doing a self-delivery. In other words, they'll eventually port what is at the moment their experimental Robotaxi software into all cars. And or they might just have a way of actually automatically just downgrading the car to a public version of software. Although again, that might take 40 minutes or so to actually do. So these deliveries aren't going to necessarily be super commonplace yet. But like you say, Pete, it's the first time ever that a publicly available car has been delivered by itself to a standard retail customer. And if you look at, as you can see on the image, in fact, I'll just make it a little bit big just for the moment. You can actually see there's multiple views. This little inset video will change because there's quite a few GoPro cameras inside. But there's no one in the car whatsoever. No one in the passenger seat and no one in the rear seats. So yeah, it certainly is history in the making.
Mm.
And
I like the footage from the external Cybertruck cameras.
yeah, absolutely. And it is interesting to see how the Cybertruck just continues on down the freeway as the Model Y gets on the off ramp or takes the off ramp, and the Cybertruck keeps driving by, and then observes the Model Y going up the off ramp. Sorry. But yes, certainly a momentous, albeit in one sense completely boring, completely unremarkable in what it's unremarkable in that it's just a car being delivered to someone. But the remarkable thing is, years ago, things like this were just thought of as a fantasy and just not possible. And clearly it's been done.
I must confess that when I bought my Tesla, I was always a bit skeptical about the self-driving, just because worked in controls and know how difficult it is. And in an environment like driving a car, but this is phenomenal. It really is. Way ahead of what I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing looking at this footage, you think, I wonder if there's a little bit of right-hand drive behavior that's snuck into this car because it's being a bit of a left lane hog, which is kind of a little bit naughty. I mean, albeit now it's just taken the right lane, which is the correct lane. But for much of the journey, it actually mostly hogs the fast lane, which is an interesting sort of thing for it to be doing. But you know, obviously
say-
it's not perfect.
It drives like a Texan. So
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Or as Bjorn Nyland would say, it's a left lane hogging Norwegian.
Norwegian Nissa.
Yes, exactly right.
Oh,
But
you know,
but look, it's a great thing, and yeah. Excuse me. Alrighty, anyone else got any questions or comments? Oh, sorry, Mike, you were going to say something, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Harold. So I guess sort of related comment. So firstly, I saw a report of this. I can't remember what media publication it was, but when they were saying it used the word allegedly not independently checked was the comment about this drive. And I'm going, really? You know, what were they thinking? Somebody remotely was driving it, you know? It's like, can they have a dig whenever they can, you know?
Yeah, and to say allegedly is
Yeah.
just dumb because that is said with regard to matters being held in court, because by definition, well, sorry, by legal definition, anything alleged in court is an allegation until it's been tested and then proven. But yeah, for a media outlet to say allegedly, I mean, we could just allege anything. We could say allegedly it had Martians driving it. I mean, it's a meaningless statement. And I mean, clearly, you know, those media outlets have got relevance deprivation syndrome. They're burnt because they were maligned during the Robotaxi launch. They continue to be burnt because, unlike almost all other car makers and other large multinational companies, Tesla doesn't have a media liaison a group, and you know the car testing media and journalists that review vehicles don't get Tesla junkets in the middle of some Pacific island somewhere or whatever. So there's the Cybertruck just alongside with its camera boom. And look, there really is no one. I guess all the people in there must have ducked their heads down. That's what it was. That's exactly what it must have been.
Short drivers.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, by the way, you see like a little lump there? People were saying, oh, what's that? Is that some advanced, fitting that they put on there? It's actually just a magnetic GoPro mount. So it seems what they do is they just sandwich a very strong magnet on the outside of the windscreen or the glass, and then it mates up with a magnet. There it is, just there in the lower right hand corner.
Yeah, so it's like on this sort of poor review publicity, I think it was Cars Guide, which is an Australian mob. And there was a YouTube comparing the new Model Y with EV5, is it? Which I think is it Kia?
Kia.
Kia.
Yeah.
And the guy was really quite demonstrative at the start, saying this is like not, I'm paraphrasing here, but this is not a biased review. He went out of his way to say this is just the facts. So then so I thought, okay, I'll take it at face value. So I listened to it, and he reviewed the EV5 first. And within about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, I turned off when he got to the Tesla, because firstly, he said, the mechanism to get into this car is awful, because you have this credit card thing, which firstly, you've got to swipe on the side of the car, and then you've got to put it where the phone charger was. That must be new in the Model Y, because I thought it was near the... Yeah, okay. So anyway, But as we all know, nobody uses that damn card. We all use our phones, whether it's Android or Apple, it doesn't matter. Nobody uses that. And like, this is a Cars Guide reviewer. Why would he not know that, other than to say that getting into the Tesla is horrible because you've got to use this horrible card? I mean,
Mike, it's not true that we use our phones. We don't use our phones because the phone is just in our pockets. We don't even have to use
exactly, Pete.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. We don't actually use anything. So, I mean, obviously, and then he went on to like moan about how the software on the screen is a mess to set up things like adjusting the mirrors and the steering wheel and all this sort of stuff. I'm going,
Yeah.
mate, you do this once and then you never touch it. In your settings, whoever gets in the car, it automatically adjusts for them. I mean, so I just stopped watching at that point because his opening comments were just complete bullshit.
Mike, I've adjusted the mirrors probably 200 times plus with every renter, and it's as easy as. There's nothing.
I know.
There's nothing cumbersome about it. It's the only thing you could say is not intuitive is you adjust the left mirror with the left scroll wheel, and some people will automatically reach for the right scroll wheel to the right mirror. That you could say is unintuitive, but it's only about half the people that do that. The other half stay on the left one. So there's nothing cumbersome. There's nothing slow or unintuitive. It was.
I know.
You just
I mean,
can't trust these media outlets. You just can't trust them.
No, the legacy shit. You just don't even bother. Yeah. I mean, I have to watch it for work, so I know what the hell I'm going to be asked and stuff like that. But you guys, you don't have to. So I'm just don't even bother.
I just started because he was so demonstrative at the start, saying this is going to be factual, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
no, it just wasn't.
No, it's like the guy from Clean Technica. He owns a Model S so he can rag on Tesla, but he goes, "Oh, I own a Model S." Those sort of people. You just go, you know what? Enough's enough, and you just sort of, we got enough negativity and shit in our lives.
Yes.
You don't need to add it to yourself, Mike. You don't want to.
Yeah.
It's
so here you
not
go.
worth
So
the
on
time.
a positive note and a funny note. So on X today, you've probably seen Ryan's Model Y. He's a reasonably well-known person in the fraternity. So he put something about Tesla AI on today. So if you haven't watched it, it's really funny. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
So he gets into his old version Model Y, and he gets into I presume his dad's new Model Y, and the Tesla AI is talking to him. You'll see it. It's funny.
Okay.
Very good. Just a quickie. One thing I was really impressed just watching this video is if you see this pickup truck here, he's got his indicator on. We'll just go back just a little bit and notice that the car doesn't flinch because he's not obliged to let someone in just because someone's indicating to change lanes. So it does the correct thing rather than being too mild and meek. Is it just asserts what it's doing and just copes with the situation. So I think that was actually quite impressive to see that the car doesn't flinch like, I mean, in our cars in autopilot, ours would have actually slowed down and
slammed on the
overtly given way unnecessarily.
Well, I'm assuming that it knows who has right of way. And again, they've got funny rules over in America, but I'm assuming the person in the lane currently, if they're not merging, has right of way. And the car would know that.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
Is the wrong word, but the car
would
have the program for that.
And it's obviously learnt that from the end-to-end programming, from all the example driving data that's been sent to it. All righty.
I picked up this week that in Austin, a red arrow doesn't actually mean you can't go. I don't know whether you saw all this week. So you might have noticed on some of the robo-taxi footage that there's cars turning against red lights.
Yeah.
In Austin, you can actually do that. And in many states, apparently, you can do that. So red doesn't actually mean not go. It actually means stop like a stop sign and then you can actually go. I
and
never
give
knew
way.
that.
Yes. And in fact, in Sydney, many of the intersections actually have a little, they sort of have like a stop sign, and that many of them actually tell you that you can turn on a red, you can turn left on a red light, but
Yes.
you got to give way, obviously.
Yes.
Very
Yeah, I
good.
didn't realise that.
Alrighty. Anyone else get any questions or comments? And I noticed that Chuck has joined us from the future, and there is actually a little bit of. Oh, sorry. And before we get to you, Chuck, John, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering, you were talking earlier about or mentioned the more affordable version. Do we know whether that is likely to come to Australia or any other markets?
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I'd say that's clearly the intention. It
Guaranteed.
just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to restrict it to America.
Hmm.
It aligns with Tesla's stated mission to basically accelerate the world's transition to sustainable transport, energy and abundance, and that aligns the total addressable market. If you just reduce the price by $5,000 or $10,000, given what a Model 3 and a Y is today in Australia, makes a massive difference to your total addressable market.
Yeah, that's another string to their bow. So definitely a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we do. Well, I'm pretty sure we've been told that the initial lines for the more affordable car is going to be based in Austin, but that doesn't mean that there isn't work being done in Shanghai. And the Chinese are even quicker at getting stuff done than the Americans. So, you never know. Tesla could surprise and say, well, actually, we've implemented these changes, bearing in mind that Tesla has always said that these more affordable vehicles are compatible with the existing Model Y and Model 3 lines. So, yes, it could absolutely be that Shanghai may be doing similar modifications, which will bring the cars. And yet, it makes sense. I mean, yes, the Model Y was Australia. It was the highest selling EV in Australia in the last 6 months, calendar year to date. But of course, some models of BYD, which are vastly cheaper, slowly catching up, and it just makes sense for Tesla to be able to address the entire market of cars, not just I mean, let's face it, a Model 3 and a Model Y really is a premium sedan. Well, it's certainly firmly in that price market.
One of the other things on the airwaves last week is this Grok becoming or looking like it's going to become available in the Teslas, which will change the way we interact with the vehicles. So that sounds interesting.
Yes, and in fact, Grok 4 is being released. I guess it's tomorrow morning our time. It's tonight US time, or should I say? I think it's 8. I think there's a live stream launching it at 8 p.m. I think it's Central Time in the States. Tonight or early tomorrow morning. So that'll be interesting to see what Grok 4 does. And yes, obviously it's. I think it's Green the Only has analysed the software running in the cars and has seen that there is definitely coding for Grok to be fully integrated. Well, sorry, to be integrated into the cars, which will certainly be interesting.
Also, someone on X mentioned that tonight's Grok presentation would be a great time to announce integrating Grok into Teslas. And I think Elon liked it or had some sort of a positive reaction to it. So, yeah, could be announced tonight or tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Now let me just. Sorry, I've just got to temporarily change that. So back to me. Okay. All right. So Chuck, we've got a couple of little bits of news. Actually, one, it sounds really minor, and it kind of it ordinarily would be very minor, but at least there's been a slight. It's fairly confirmed. There's a couple of pins on PlugShare, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, and we have one very blurry photo. But basically, at Timber Creek, you'll see there are two pins, and this is for a Type 2 charger. The first pin has got nothing really much about it. It just says just past Timber Creek Bar and Restaurant at the front of the building, which is not where that pin is. So I've just put a note here that says it's probably a duplicate pin. Click on the other one. And if we click on this one, there's a rather awful photo of a Schneider charger taken at night. And this is a Type 2. It's currently free to use, but the main thing is now Timber Creek actually has a charger, an AC three-phase charger, which is probably 22 kilowatts, even though SH078 in a Tesla Model 3 only measured 12 kilowatts, but we know why that's the case. So I know it doesn't, it's actually a great deal because previously the gap between Kununurra and Katherine was 517 kilometres. Now at least there is a way of charging your car even during the daytime. So you only need to spend about, oh look, if you spend an hour or an hour and a half while you're having lunch or something at the Timber Creek pub, you can basically put enough juice in your car to then be able to do at least the West Australian speed limit to Katherine, or vice versa, Katherine to Kununurra. So yeah, it sort of frustrates me to be sort of really impressed about something that's so trivial, but it makes a big difference to people doing laps around Australia. It just makes that journey just that little bit easier, which is a great thing.
Yeah. So that was a 500k gap, you said.
517 kilometre gap
Jeez.
between the Horizon Powered WAV network fast DC charger in Kununurra and the NRMA ABB 180 kilowatt fast DC charger in Katherine.
Yeah. So there wasn't even three-phase there?
No, there was three-phase at the Traveller's Rest.
Right.
But it was removed because they used that three-phase to extend some more accommodation at the Traveller's Rest. So back in the old days, I used it in 2018, and Pete and I used it in 2021 or two, one or the other. But a couple of laps after that, it was removed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we then went backwards, whereby you would then strategically be forced to do an overnight stay. You try and time it so it's an overnight stay, if it works that way. But if you find that you're there in the middle of the day, it's really difficult because you're on 15 amp single phase. It's really, difficult to deal with. But now at least that problem is resolved.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it's that lap has now become incrementally easier to do. In my last lap, I had to guts it out and do a personal best and just bash out the 517 Ks non-stop. And look, it can be done, but just because it can be done doesn't necessarily mean it should be done or that it's comfortable to do. It's annoying when EV owners have to resort to things like that just to do something ordinary like drive around Australia, which thousands of Grey Nomads do every year.
Something ordinary like that, yeah.
It's very ordinary, yeah, exactly.
I just had a look on PlugShare. I zoomed in a little bit. And I thought I'll have to visit the next town along at some point. If you look at the map, the next town to the east.
So sorry, I missed the first bit of what you said. So what was the?
I'll have to visit there because if you go to the next town to the east of Timber Creek on PlugShare.
East of Timber Creek, the only town is Katherine.
No, zoom in a bit. If you zoom in closer to Timber Creek.
Oh, Gregory, yes.
There we go.
Very good, yes. And in
That's
fact,
right.
that's the Victoria River Roadhouse in the
Yes.
district,
Yeah.
I guess, or whatever you want to call it, of Gregory. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, I
that's
mean,
good.
there you go, Chuck. It's basically been ordained.
That's it.
You don't have a choice. You have to do a pilgrimage to your home region.
My namesake. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, of your namesake. Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
That's funny.
Um,
Just as a complete side note,
Yes.
my dad's uncle, who was a Gregory, he was the first park ranger at Uluru National Park.
Oh,
And
there
I
you
think-
go.
And I think he was also the first white person who was buried in the national park with permission of the locals there. So
Yeah, right.
I don't know if the Gregory influence extended as far north as there, but anyway, that's my tie to Northern Territory.
Well, then you really are obliged to visit it,
That's right.
Chuck. So just keep racking up that annual leave, and you can do it in 2 or 3 weeks. One
I've got
day.
the leave. It's just the logistics. That's just
Yes.
that's it.
And,
yeah.
and look, hopefully the logistics are getting a bit incrementally easier. Tesla is building a supercharger at Maryborough, sorry,
Oh
which
yes,
is
saw that one.
between. Let me just take a filter off, so there's less stuff to see. And Des will
Yeah.
get to you shortly. So apologies for the delay, but I think it's. There should
I
be a
saw it.
spanner.
Between Childers and Gympie. Yeah, there it is.
It's not that one, is it?
Down
no,
a bit
that's
more.
QS. Oh no, it is that one. It is.
No, I
That's
think it's
Mary.
closer to the.
Oh no, that's Carmela. Sorry,
It's further south, closer to
this one.
Sunshine Coast. No, even further.
It's Mary. It's Oh no, sorry, it's Maryborough.
Marlborough.
Sorry, it was. Sorry, yeah. That was another place that was.
Once you go past Gingin. Then we go
Childers. There
Maryborough.
we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
So this one here,
that's it.
and that's going to be awesome, because if you have a look at the score for Maryborough, this one, actually that one's. Oh no, that's
the NRA.
that's NRMA, which is only a new site. This one here is, you can see the 7.9 rating. This is traditionally broken, although it's been working a little bit. So Maryborough Supercharger will be great because it takes the load off going between Calliope and Gympie.
Yeah.
So it just makes that. It means you have to charge up. You don't have to as fully charge at Calliope as you otherwise would need to.
Yeah.
So that's a great achievement.
There's also one more bonus, which was only found today, actually. If you jump back to the
Yes.
PlugShare map again,
Yes.
you might have seen it.
I did see it on TMC.
Yeah.
What state's it in?
It's near the
Chuck?
Gold Coast. Near the
Oh,
Gold
that's
Coast.
right. Yeah, that's right. And it just popped up out of nowhere. Not even you knew about it, Chuck.
No,
which is,
no one knew. It just appeared.
Let me
down
just
its
change the. I think you can change who the.
Oh yeah, I think it's at the top. Go up a bit.
It's at the
Networks.
top. Networks. Here we go.
Yeah.
So let's just toggle all and go Tesla, because otherwise there's just far too many. And Gold Coast, it must be Broad. Is it Broad? No, not Broadbridge.
It's not showing on PlugShare yet because it's not officially Tesla.
Yeah, that's right. It's not on there,
Just
but
need
it will
to-
be. It will be on Tesla's. Just go to tesla.com.
It's on the
And we'll
real one.
just-
Yep.
Go to find us.
Yep.
Whoops. Sorry, I just got to just do this for a sec, because inconveniently find us. There we go. Inconveniently, Zoom puts a banner across when you're screen sharing that blocks out the top strip.
Yep.
We'll just let that load for a second.
I think that's time.
Yeah, it certainly was. Superchargers, and we'll do coming soon, because that's also topical.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go Gold Coast, and
There it is on the highway.
There it is there, which is Robina.
I think so.
And and this is something that's really interesting too. So look at these prices. Off peak, 34 cents per kilowatt hour. Morning, I guess you call it morning sort of shoulder is 45 cents. Middle of the day, 64 cents. They've got very attentive pricing. And look, even for other EVs, without, and this is EVs casually using the Tesla app without a $10 a month subscription, get very reasonable rates. And speaking of which, if you go and look, even WA, we have a look at the Coogee charger, the base rate is now 45 cents per kilowatt hour. Albeit it's accessible between 4 a.m. and 11 p.m. Karen Up is, again, very reasonable rates. And even at the most expensive rate is now 58 cents. But obviously 48 and 34 if you pick your times. And the King Spark charger, which is almost always full, again, has some very reasonable rates. So it's great to see Tesla actually... sorry, I didn't realise I've got my thing still up.
Eaton was fairly reasonable because I went down there on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So it's very reasonable to have that sort of that time of use tariff.
Yep.
And the thing too is the great thing now is all of Tesla's superchargers for Tesla vehicles are cheaper than the WAEV network. And that was important because you had places like Lancelin, which is not open to all EVs. Tesla owners, several of which are Scotsmen, or at least they're honorary Scotsmen, will logically use the WAV network if it was cheaper than the supercharger, given the speed of charging was sort of similar. So it's great to see now that, and that would mean that a non-Tesla would sort of have to wait, which could be quite frustrating, or spend a lot more money at the supercharger. Although in the case of Lancelin, you just can't do that because the Lancelin supercharger still is not open to other EVs. So yeah, it's a great initiative of Tesla. And I did recall someone on X was involving me in a conversation who was banging on about some theory of his. This is a Tesla owner, which I think it sort of gets back to Paul. You were sort of mentioning, just because you own a Tesla, sometimes people almost own Teslas just so they can bag them, or they enjoy bagging the car they own, or at least the company. And this person was sort of asserting what they considered to be the fact that the rate of increase of fast DC charging cost was exceeding the rate of increase of petrol, and said that by 2031, the cost to drive his EV would be more than petrol, because petrol would only be $2.25 by 2031, and supercharging would be, I forget what the number was, something ridiculous. And it's like, well, Tesla has been actually structurally lowering the price. So yeah, unfortunately, some people peddle alternative facts.
Exactly. Especially when it was, I think, $2.20 this week or something. So
Exactly. So it's kind of a bit crazy.
yeah.
Chuck, we might get back to you in a sec, but Des, we'll just go to you just in case you've got a pressing question. I mean, like urgent one.
No, it's not urgent at all. Just curious, going back to the previous conversation about settings in the Tesla. When you change to your new Model Y, do your old settings from the previous one work? Or how does it translate between models? Seeing as you've had a few.
What I found is when you translate between the same model. So if I jump in my wife's Model Y, forgetting the Juniper, when we had identical Model Ys and I jumped between one or the other, usually the seat position was okay, the steering wheel was okay. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure if my wife's steering wheel position is actually any different to mine, so that could be a slight a contra to that sort of being done correctly. The thing that would frustrate me, and I never really bothered to press it with Tesla service because it's a little bit of a first world problem, was that, oh, and I also hired a car in the UK, a Tesla Model Y, was that my wing mirror positions weren't correct. And I sort of learnt to just put up with it in the car I wasn't driving often, because if I then adjust it to make it correct, when I go back to my own car, it would then be incorrect the other way. So it was almost like they needed to be sort of reset to a known position rather than sort of moving relatively. So I'm not sure how advanced Tesla's wing mirror actuators are. Some of these things, they just work by overrunning to a down position and then work relatively after that. And if they're out of sync, it sort of stays out of sync. Although all the settings were correct. In other words, my Spotify, which I've only just recently hooked onto, all that sort of stuff, the YouTube stuff worked okay. All your preferences, such as whether you want, well, we got autopilot or your temperature, whether you want early warning, for forward collision warning detection, all that sort of stuff. All those settings seem to sort of come across correctly. Your trip meter settings, how many trip meters you have, and all that sort of stuff, sort of works quite well. Now, into the Juniper, I must admit, I often when you get into a brand new car, it can be just sort of psychological. I probably tweaked my seat position just a little bit, but that depends. I mean, I usually wear thongs, or if you wear shoes, it sort of it can be a bit different, and the car looks a bit different, so you kind of feel like you're in a different position. And I haven't gone back to my old Model Y really much at all. So yeah, I haven't tried flicking between the two, but I dare say maybe the wing mirrors might be the one point of issue that I've ever had. And I haven't tried a Model 3, so I guess an acid test would be how would it relate to a Model 3, if at all, as far as seat positions, because everything's slightly different.
I was going to say, because I've got the 3 and Leonie has the Y. When I get in the Y, the seats are slightly different, but everything else seems the same. So,
Yeah,
and like you said, I just put up with it in the Model Y because this is my primary car, so the 3. So,
yeah, yeah. And like I said,
yeah,
if you,
first world issue.
yeah, it is.
It's fine.
And look, there might have been ways for the wing mirrors. I might have, if I just got both cars and just jammed the wing mirrors to the fully down and to the left position or whatever,
Mm.
maybe that might have then fixed it. But I never bothered to, like I said, raise it with Tesla because it's decidedly a first world problem. Speaking of other first world problems, well, this is a bit more than a first world problem. I just can't remember if I mentioned it 2 weeks ago, because I'm not sure. I think the software update might have come out, but I've only just realized fairly recently that with 2025.20.6 software update for refreshed Model Ys, the new Juniper Model Ys, the automatic adaptive high beams have effectively been fixed, which is a great relief. So yeah, so Alex, you've got a awesome new Model Y. Just let your high beams run and it'll be okay. So
I'll do that now.
I've sort of yeah, just feel free to just use them as much as you like.
Just
Yeah.
what the software my car's up to at the moment. I've got 20.6 installed at the moment.
Yes, 2025.20.6. Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So my car has got like a couple of pixels just on the left, are a little sort of creeping into the side of a car in front occasionally, but my headlights were adjusted for the second time by Tesla in O'Connor, and there's a slight chance that it might not be perfectly adjusted. So certainly it's vastly better than it was before that software update.
I'll let it run and see how we go.
However, sadly, there's still no news. Hopefully, I might have some news next week because we're meeting with Tesla tomorrow. Hopefully, there'll be some news about any progress towards having a double press option on your right-hand scroll wheel to enable autopilot. So then you can have a single press for traffic-aware cruise control, because that's something that the latest software update has not yet addressed. And that's certainly a very pressing issue that we'll be asking Tesla tomorrow. They are aware of it, but it's a matter of getting head office to do something about it. So fingers crossed that will happen.
That's good. Thank you, Harold.
Sorry, Alex, say again?
I said thank you.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Absolute pleasure. I mean, I must admit, yes.
I was going to mention about that to resume speed limit, if you can mention that one as well. You know, the old Model 3s and Ys hold the stroke down for 3 seconds, but on the refreshed Model 3s, you can't do that.
Yes, you can only just press the speed limit
on the screen.
Yes.
And that's going to become illegal very shortly.
Oh,
with the cameras. They're getting new cameras for, you know, all these infringements.
Yes, but you can still touch the touchscreen, Norm, because it's part of the car controls. So you can't touch a mobile phone. Well, there's actually conflicting information about that too. I thought that you were permitted to end a call on a mobile phone by tapping it, but I don't think you're permitted to start a call by tapping it.
Okay.
But the best thing to do is not touch your mobile. But certainly, no, you can absolutely touch your touchscreen because it is a legally registered, or it's a homologated and compliant part of the control of your vehicle.
Okay.
It's not an accessory. So yeah, that's fine. But you're right, it would be good if you could do like a long press of your scroll wheel, right-hand scroll wheel button to basically act like a long downward press on a stalk.
Yeah.
And, you know, clearly the lack of stalks does introduce some unintended consequences, which makes it difficult to get around. And at least some extent, it can reduce the amenity of the car, especially if you're used to doing it in other ways.
It's safer to do it on the scroll wheel rather than putting your finger on the button.
That's right, because you don't need to take your eyes off the road. That's right, because there's no... The touchscreen doesn't have any slight little glass nipples or little lumps there where you can kind of feel it before you tap on it. So, yeah, absolutely, it would be good to have it on the scroll wheel. In fact, I'll just write a note for that, just to remind me. Speed limit. No, it's tack speed scroll wheel.
Oh, and on your phone app, can we get the ability to change the fan speed? Because you don't currently have that. Yeah, that would be really good. Because I've noticed when I put it in dog mode, it drops the fan speed to auto, and it's quite low, and I want it up higher. It's like 4 or 3, and I'm like, that's not really good for the dog. So
yeah, true. That's a good point. So you can't because
you can change your aircon temperature, but not the fan speed.
So in dog mode, by necessity, it always stays as auto.
Or it's low, like 4 or 3 or something like that, which is too low because I normally have it on 6 or 7 fan speed for the back. And it seems to turn the aircon off at the back as well. So it just has it at the front, which is dumb because the whole point is for the dog.
and dogs are normally in the back
in the
row.
back. She's not here in the steering driving it. It's not full self-driving yet.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. So yeah, if we could have the ability to change the fan speed, that'd be great. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. I'll put that question to him. And that way I can say, look, full disclosure, I don't own a pet, so I have no skin in the game.
Yep.
Very good. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
I think that should have been no fur in the game.
Boom, boom.
That's right. Boom, boom. Boom, tish. Dearie me. Excuse my mind fog of pneumonia-induced blurriness.
Oh yes.
All right.
As I wasn't there last Wednesday because we all had the WOG here. Sorry, the dreaded lurgy, whatever the correct phrase is these days.
Yes, don't be racist.
So how did it all go? Did many show up? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We were sort of split amongst a couple of tables, because one table had a capacity of about, I can't remember, 11 or 12 or something like that. So then another lot of us spilled into the sort of front area. So we were sort of separated a bit, but no, it was a good casual meetup, as they all are. So I think we had probably about 30 people turn up, which is good.
Good.
So
So I must catch up with you lot at some point. I've been hanging around here long enough now.
yeah. Well, I guess the next one will be either central or north of the river. So we'll definitely be egalitarian there. So yes, and the next one will be on a Sunday lunchtime, because it basically alternates between a weekday, a Wednesday evening on one month, and a Sunday lunchtime the next month, because obviously people have different lifestyles. They're in different stages of families and whatever, or work. So whereas, a Wednesday night might be great for some, a Sunday lunch is more convenient for others. So we try and make sure that no one misses out. Except, of course, for Chuck in Tasmania, because we wish you were here, Chuck, but we haven't got instantaneous travel yet, and there are no starships going between Hobart and Perth yet. But you never know.
I bought some hockey pucks this week.
Hockey puck. Oh,
Jacking
right,
pucks.
yes. Jacking pucks.
Jacking pucks, yes.
Very good.
So that's my last accessory. I don't think I need anything else.
To be honest, I haven't used one ever to jack a Tesla, but they are good. I mean, it does make it fairly foolproof, and it does make it gives you a broader surface area or area to put your jack under, which is good. And they do work quite well, although they can reduce. Again, if you're jacking a tire just to change with another one, if you're doing a tire rotation with inflated tires, it's fine, but you'll find that you're going to struggle to use a puck if you've got it changing a properly flat tire, even with a low profile jack, because like I've mentioned several times in the past, when I was, I don't know, 150k south of Alice Springs, I could not get my slim jack under the back because I had to jack the rear wheel. So I had to jack it from the front first before jacking it from the back, and that was without a puck. So pucks are great, but you might find you get gazumped if you actually have a proper flat tire, as opposed to just changing one with a nail in it or something like that.
Just something for maintenance without wishing to sort of delay John too much. Our other car is the Mazda 3, and we needed to actually change the brake fluid in it this week due to high moisture, for those that know about brake fluid. And so it popped into my head because Tesla has no maintenance. So I thought, do these brakes actually have brake fluid? And yes, they do. So what I've spotted is that older versions of the manual said you need to check every 2 years, and now it says every 4 years. And the reality is it depends on where you live. So probably in WA, because we tend not to have high humidity areas, you could probably get away with 4 years. But some places where there's high humidity, 4 years might be stretching it.
Yes, and Tesla do actually offer it as a service. I don't think it costs very
Yes.
much. I'm just trying to find. I did have a poster that Tesla produced, so I'm just going to have to try and flick through it. But there's certain it is not the case. I mean, Tesla don't have regular scheduled services, or at least mandatory annual sort of services that other car manufacturers have. But there certainly are recommendations. You're dead right that checking the moisture of your brake fluid is a thing. I must admit I haven't checked the moisture. Oh, actually, brake moisture would probably be more a time thing than a kilometer thing, probably, I guess.
It's a humidity thing, really. It just depends on what the surroundings are like and how often you're up at high moistures. Because it's, what is it, hydrophilic? Is it phobic? Or is it
Hydrophilic, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It
And it's
likes
just something
moisture.
to be aware of. Just keep your eye on, because you won't request the service unless you're aware that might be an issue. And we weren't expecting our Mazda 3, but we not checked it, and it just sits around and does very little mileage now because we have the Tesla 3 instead.
Absolutely. So here's a poster that has your brake service. So you've got clean fluid, dirty fluid, you've got good and bad pads, you've got tread depth. I mean, that's pretty much common to every car. Your air con. So they say every 4 years for most models, recommendation. And you've got your big HEPA filter, which is either clean or dirty, and your cabin air filter, which is, yeah, that's the only thing I've changed on my old Model Y in 189,000 Ks was just the cabin air filter.
Where's that sheet located? On the Tesla site somewhere?
No, I don't exactly remember where
That's
I
all right.
got that from. I had to trim it and sort of square it up, but
Yeah,
it was a
that's all right.
photo. I just can't remember if I took a photo of this somewhere that I was at, and I thought it was sort of interesting. But yeah, certainly the cars aren't immune from all sorts of maintenance. It's just that they're not as lucrative and routine as the other car manufacturers. John, you got your hand up.
Yeah. Just on the subject of feature requests, something that's has become sort of something which would be useful for me, I've noticed over the last few weeks is for the charging schedules in order to take advantage of the different synergy rates. What I'd like to do is to have like a priority for the overnight, the lowest rate. Oh, sorry, the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the lowest rate versus like the overnight, which is the next best rate. And I was thinking that, well, if I was able to set a maximum charge capacity for each one, I could actually, in effect, give preference to, the cheapest rate. So if I was really low, I would then be happy to charge up to, say, for example, 50% or whatever at the second cheapest rate, but otherwise default to at the maximum charge set point being the very cheapest rate. So I guess it's a subtlety, but
Yeah, it's a classic sort of. There'd be an infinite number of combinations of ways that people might want to do that. I mean, there is a similar sort of thing, not quite, well, it's similar to what you want, which is what the Powerwall can do with charge on solar. So in that case, there are two different limits. There is a minimum acceptable charge level that you want your battery charged to regardless. and then there's a separate section of that slider, which is, and that would usually be set to 80% for a long range car and 100% for a center range car, which is the charge on solar part, whereby you'll only get that additional charging if there is surplus solar. Yeah, I guess John, the problem is, yeah, it's a classic case of you could have an infinite number of requests that are useful to a subset of owners. You could just continue with your. I mean, the thing is, if you've got a 9 to 5 job or Monday to Friday job, then you're only really going to be doing your cheapest charging at home on the weekend. In which case, you're better off just doing that manually. Then you could just set your if you need to charge your car, well, not necessarily daily, but you can't make it throughout the week without needing a charge overnight. You could still set the overnight charging, which guarantees when you get home you can just plug in and the car will start charging at 11 p.m. Sorry, at 9 p.m. or 11 if you've got the EV add-on to the Synergy tariff. And then on a Saturday or Sunday during the day, when you plug the car in, it probably won't charge, but I'm pretty sure you can just go into your Tesla app and just say start charging, and it will. I'm pretty sure it will. So you'd probably want to choose which one is the priority, whether you want to sort of mostly prioritize 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., I think.
Yeah, most days the car's just not being used until about 10 or 11 a.m. or something like that. So it's just a narrow window of getting.
Oh, yeah, okay. In which case, then what you would do is you would then prioritize the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. so that when you plug the car in, nothing happens until 9 a.m. And if you don't start driving the car until 10, well, you've got an hour. And let's face it, if you've got 3-phase charging, that's 75 plus Ks an hour. The average car only does 38 Ks a day. So you could recover 2 days worth of driving, average driving, in just that 1 hour on the one day. And if the charging is only for half an hour, you've probably recovered the previous day's driving anyway. But I mean, I guess, in an ideal situation, you could have like several settings. Yeah. I guess the problem is Tesla has to balance the complexity of the user interface. Unless it did something like it broke out and said, look, we're not going to put all this stuff in the car or in the app, but if you log onto your Tesla account, you could go to an advanced settings tab or something like that, or I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. It's not really going to be applicable for everybody. Yeah, sure.
No, unfortunately not.
One of the other things on the slider to adjust the maximum charge capacity, it's very easy to do and by mistake. So when you're just sort of handling the phone inadvertently, my wife tends to do it a lot.
Yes, and something I do I'm quite paranoid when I'm on road trips, because most of my road trips are hot laps, is I'm a bit paranoid that the car is charging, because it usually doesn't have too many hours to get that charge. I always want to make sure it's actually charging. But one of the great dangers is if you've got the charge tab open in your app, it's actually very close to the dismiss button of your phone. So I'll just try and show you that. So charging. 2 seconds. My car is. It's not. No, because it's not charging, it's not going to show it. Actually, maybe my wife's car's plugged in. No, it's not. But basically, you've got your dismiss. Let me just show you on the screen. at the, this is going to be very difficult to do while maintaining privacy. 2 seconds. If you have your charge screen on, you end up, you know how iPhones have that horizontal, you have that horizontal thing here. Normally the where it says stop charging, if you were charging, would actually be very close to this line. And then what happens is that if you go to dismiss the app, you might inadvertently press the stop charging. And of course, you sort of do that. You press the stop charging, dismiss the app, and you don't realize you've done it. And that can be quite deadly. So another tip is sort of, do be careful and just monitor. You can see on the app whether your car is charging or not after you've sort of like fiddled with it. But yeah, John, that's definitely a danger that you can inadvertently stop charging. The other thing you can do too, which is probably a bit safer, if you want to monitor charging, is do it on your Apple Watch if you've got one. And I dare say a Google, a Android watch, once Tesla implements that for the Android ecosystem, because you can just get a complication on your Apple Watch just to show that it is actually charging and what state of charge it's at. Alrighty. No worries. Any other questions or comments?
Without wishing to be dominant today, this conversation leads me into something I saw regarding solar and Powerwalls. So for whatever reason, I was fishing around looking at things, and unless I've got this wrong, you can currently with discount get a Powerwall 3 for just a little under 10 grand, and an approximate suitable solar is 5-ish. So, and obviously there's a few other fiddly bits, bit of insulation and other stuff, but let's say 15 grand as a round number. Now, since we've got the Tesla, obviously our electricity bill's gone up, but our overall expense, because we're not buying petrol anymore. But it means that potentially if we pump a bit of juice more than we have been, our electric bill could be, $3 grand a year, which means there's a 5-year payback. Now that's like not bad. I pay attention from that, unless 10-year payback I don't pay attention to. I might not be around that long. So, but 5 years interesting, and I'm just wondering if I've got anything wrong.
No,
Does
not
that
at
sound
all.
about right for you guys' knowledge?
Well, yes, bearing in mind that the in-out cost of a Powerwall per warranted kilowatt hour, I think off the top of my head's about 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So there is an arbitrage, there is a cost to using the storage. Solar itself, if you can charge your car during the daytime, solar is these days, you can get cheap standard installs, a 5 kilowatt system for vastly less, and 5 kilowatt inverter or 6.6 panels, 5 kilowatt inverter, whatever, for much less than $5,000. And that for an average solar system at that sort of price, it's just that if you can use the power during the daytime, which means if you're retired or you can work from home or whatever, and it's an absolute money earner. It's your return on investment is only a matter of a couple of years, really, if you charge your car earnestly. But a battery system, battery storage, there is still a cost per warranted kilowatt hour. So
Can you explain that, Harold?
okay, so if you say, most batteries are defined, they're warranted for about 10 years, and they're warranted at 10 years for a 1 charge cycle per day, So in other words, if the capacity is 10 kilowatt hours, they're warranted that they get filled up with 10 and depleted with 10 or by 10, 3,600 times, or say roughly 4,000 times for their warranty capacity. So then if you presume that your $10,000, actually, if we just do it off, this could work quite badly, but we'll just see how it goes. So if you say it's $10,000, although actually it's a bit more because you need a gateway and all that sort of stuff. But if we just use $10,000 as a very basic example, you've got $10,000. You've then got 10 years, so you divide that by 10. That's $1,000 a year. You've got 365 days, so that's 365 divide. That's 2.7. That's $2.70 per day, and then you've got 10 kilowatt hours. So if we get the $2.70, actually $2.74 divided by 10 kilowatt hours, or say let's call it 12. We'll divide that by 12. Oh, that works perfectly. That's nearly 23 cents per kilowatt hour. So if your solar is free, which it kind of is, or should I say, if you put the solar into the grid, you get almost nothing for it. I think the feed-in tariff is approaches zero, or it's 2 cents or 3 cents or whatever, depending on when you got solar. So your opportunity cost for not selling it to the grid is 3 cents per kilowatt hour. If you save it, if you can't use it while you're making it, because not everyone can use it at the time it was made, which is daytime, for you to store it and then use it, presuming that the battery you buy will last for 10 years only and just drop dead for the $10,000 investment, then like I said, for every kilowatt hour you cycle through that battery will notionally cost you, on the presumption that it drops dead after 10 years, is 23 cents or roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So if your solar's free or costs, let's call it 3 cents a kilowatt hour, because you could have gotten that money from Synergy, then your power will cost you, say, 25, 26 cents per kilowatt hour to use at night. And now that compares to the 30 cents per kilowatt hour, 31, that Synergy currently charges after 9 p.m. I guess, so batteries still are not necessarily strictly on their warranty basis a super compelling offering on that basis alone.
Yeah,
But if it allows you to unlock other savings, so the one where you can really unlock a lot of saving is if you go on Synergy's daytime saver tariff, which is between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. You get 7.6 cents per kilowatt hour, which is super cheap. The sting in the tail is between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. It's 51 cents per kilowatt hour. After then, it's basically the standard tariff, roughly 30 cents per kilowatt hour, roughly, or maybe it's slightly less. Now, where you can really unlock the savings is if you can use a lot of electricity between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Say you have several EVs and you can charge them, then that's where you make the significant saving, and the battery is there to cycle between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. when the cost is actually quite high. That would actually work without solar panels, because if you looked at the life cycle cost of making electricity using panels and inverters, it might be approaching 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Maybe. It might actually be a little bit less than that, but I'm not quite sure. I haven't bothered to do that maths. So really what the battery can unlock is not so much a fuller utilization of your solar panels, it's the utilization of that super cheap energy between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's where my mind is, because solar's a bit difficult for us because of our roof orientation.
Yep.
And my brain is just sat at, well, if we can pull all the solar in and use electricity in the cheap period, and then for the sting period we use the battery. So I don't quite understand that amortization process you went through, and this is not the time because I'm just being thick about it because my brain.
No. So okay, so it's super simple. If you just think of this, now this is a worst case presumption. Just presume the Powerwall will only last for its warranty period, which is 10 years.
Yeah. Good.
And again, you just get 10 years. You work out how many days that is. Well, that's 10,000 days. You work out how many. Sorry, it's not 10,000 days. It's 3,650 days.
Yeah.
You get the $10,000 divided by that number, and that's $2.70 per day is your capital cost per day, presuming that after 10 years it drops dead and you're going to buy another one.
Yep.
Now, that's not necessarily the case at all, but this is just the worst case. Then you say, all right, for the $2.71, what do I get? Well, what you do is you get the right, or you get the ability to, on the warranty basis, to entirely fill it and entirely drain it at a cost of $2.70, whatever it was. You then just work out what the cost of electricity is in comparison, the normal electricity, so 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Sorry. You get $2.70 and you get the 14 kilowatt hours that the battery can store. You work out what that cost is per kilowatt hour, and that's 23 cents. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't matter whether you bought the electricity off the grid for 7 cents, made it yourself for not very much, or even paid 50 cents per kilowatt hour, which you wouldn't do. So yeah, certainly, look, if you're someone that is at work all day and the house is basically dead quiet, well, you're not going to get that saving of getting 7 cents per kilowatt hour unless you can jam it in a battery. And if you jam it in a battery at 7 cents and it costs you 23 cents, well, magically that becomes 30. So again, if you don't have an opportunity of using the super cheap electricity while it's available, again, a battery isn't necessarily a strictly economically viable thing to do. But one great thing a lot of batteries do, which Powerwall does have, and this is a killer app, is that if power goes out, it can keep your house running.
Yeah.
Now that can be worth vastly more than $2.70 per day.
Yeah.
Vastly more. In fact, just one incident, if it can ride out a 6-hour, 24-hour, and if you've got solar, if you can basically limp along for several days when everyone else is dark, that can be worth many, many hundreds, if not potentially thousands of dollars, whether that's lost productivity.
I get all that, but where my brain is working, and there's obviously something wrong, and I'll either give you a call during the day or something, but I'm going, let's say the battery costs 10 grand as a round number, and our annual electric bill is 2 grand. And when we have the solar panels, which might cost us nothing, say, so we can fill up the battery for nothing and then not use any other electricity. So the battery's paid off in 5 years. That's the way my brain's working, because we're saving 2 grand a year, which we were otherwise paying for electric bill, and now we're not. That's the way I was thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that is, well, the brutal reality is, which will all be, every one of us who have got solar will know, is the yield in winter is just a little bit crap. And for that, what you'll be doing is programming your battery to fill itself up between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And what you get from your solar will be very little. Except for like today was a great day. It was a mild day, not a cloud in the sky. So, many solar systems are doing all right today. But so basically, you've got to take it that it's going to earn that $2,000 over 9 months, not 12 months. So you're pushing it a lot harder than you think you are. Um, and actually, I think $2,000 a year power bill's not that much. So you're not using as much electricity, and it
No,
won't
I
be for
just
free.
picked two
Yeah,
as a
yeah, it
round
won't.
number just to go
Yeah,
into the 10. That was all.
it just won't be free. Sorry, it won't be a 5-year payback period.
Hmm. See, we
Um,
use more electricity in summer because of the aircon than we do in winter.
yes. Yeah.
So I was just averaging it out,
Yep.
just, back of the SIG
Your
packet
your power bill won't go
calculation.
to zero, should I say? It
No,
definitely will
but
not go to
it'll be
zero.
more in summer, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and if you've got ducted aircon, you've got zero chance. If
No,
you've
we
got
don't.
split aircons for each room, then you've got a much better chance
Yeah,
because
we have a
you.
we have a swampy.
Oh, sorry. Oh well, that's not even aircon, so that doesn't even factor in as power.
It
That
works.
does the power that a swampy uses is nothing.
Oh, it's not. It's not. We've got an old
Oh
swampy.
well, yeah, but it's like 500 watts or something to run the fan, or 600
Yeah,
watts, to run the fan and the little water
yeah.
pump.
It's more
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a kilowatt an hours, but whatever.
Sorry?
It's more like a kilowatt an hours.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a really old
Jeez.
one. It's 20 years old. So
Yeah, right.
the motor's inefficient.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, then you're actually not really a serious power user, except for your EV. But again, that's a totally different
Yeah, it's not that
thing.
much.
But yeah, no, well, actually, in your case, that would actually make the battery less compelling. But anyway, do the
Anyway,
numbers. That do
yeah.
Don't be caught up in the fact that it says 10 grand, because for that 10 grand, you've also got to add a $1,500 or $1,900.
Yeah, there's a couple of grand extra here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of grand extra for the gateway. And if you want to get the federal government battery rebate, you must have solar at your house already or
Yeah.
install solar at the same time.
Yeah, I just saw one of the installers going, here's the story, this is the price. And I went, oh, that's an interesting number. And I just did
Yes.
that simple calculation, right? Based on our last, since we've had the Tesla power bills and turned that into a year,
Yep.
and it came out to be about 5 on that simple calculation. I thought, well, that's worth paying attention to.
Yep.
Whereas 10 years is not worth paying attention to.
No, but again, the killer app for the Powerwall in particular is its ability to make your house. It's basically a large UPS for
Yes.
your house, and that's a real killer app. That, like I said, just your. And the thing too is, if you go on holidays and you've got retic or whatever or stuff in the fridge, it's just a peace of mind knowing that even if there's a multi-hour outage, bearing in mind it's also got Stormwatch. So if there are storms, it will, for safety, actually deliberately fill itself up to a certain level, even if that electricity is expensive, just in case the storm causes a power outage, so that it can run the house for longer.
I mean, we're
So
losing power all day, about once a quarter, because they're doing the power poles in the area. So they're putting up a
yeah,
new
right, yeah,
power pole
yep,
like every quarter, and we lose it for
yep,
a whole day. So,
yep, yep. Well, the Powerwall would make that unnoticeable.
in fact, that's how we bought the Tesla, actually, because we were mooching around with no power. And I said to Mrs., we were thinking about this car, let's go and have a look at a Tesla, see what they're like. And that's what the rest is history.
Yes, and you made the fatal mistake of driving one going, yeah, all right, just take my money.
Yes.
Very good.
Thanks, Harold. Sorry, everybody.
No,
Trying to
that's
get
all right.
around
Yeah,
this.
it's okay.
No worries. All right. Anyone else got any questions or comments? I see
Actually, Harold, yeah.
Carmen's about to mention, what the hell is Elon Musk doing?
Probably.
Well, that plus also, my car doesn't seem to sense the road signs very well, even though it might say 100 and I'm doing 80, it starts beeping. So and it's not always in the new freeway areas. It's in a lot of areas. Have you heard of that before?
So mine doesn't beep, but I do know that, and actually in the Juniper it's a lot better, which is a bit weird, but anyway. Like I know there's certain areas on Tonkin Highway, there's a little blip near the river or near where the new railway to Ellenbrook sort of goes under Tonkin Highway and whatever, just that near Collier Road, whatever, and it will just blip down to 50 kilometres an hour. The actual speed limit indicated will show 50 k's an hour and then go back to 100. And of course, that would be enough for your overspeed thing to give you that beep warning. So yeah, you're right. It can be a bit annoying whereby, and Mike has ventilated this frustration many times, where the car will often get the speed limit in a section of road incorrect many times, and repeatedly incorrect. It's not the camera, it's the data that the map has, the onboard map or the onboard navigation data has. And then one of the problems is that data comes from main roads, which then goes to some other department, which then goes to OpenStreetMap, which then goes to the data that gets uploaded to the car. And I think Mike's explained this, that it was explained to him that you have different nodes, so it's almost like different fiducial points along a road, and that's where they will sort of reassert what the speed limit is at that point. And if that's incorrect, the car has incorrect information.
And that would make sense if the road sign number was not quite different to the speed that the car is doing, but it still maintains the sign number correctly.
Okay, so what you're saying is when you look on the screen and it's making the beeping, the overspeed beeping noises, what you see on the left-hand symbol, which is the coloured speed limit,
Yep.
that's the correct speed limit.
Yep.
And then the grey speed limit is what your autopilot or traffic aware cruise control is set to, so that you're not going faster than the coloured speed limit.
No. So it's very, very strange. And I thought maybe it's just a day, but no, it's been happening regularly.
And it's only obviously just started doing this recently.
Probably for about 3 weeks, yes. And when it does it I do the Innaloo Stirling run quite a bit. And when it goes there, I just figure that it's main roads, taking off signs or something happening.
Yeah.
But it has done it even on Mounts Bay Road, and nothing's happening there.
And it's definitely the overspeed chime. That's the overspeed alarm.
Oh yes, it goes quite crazy.
Yeah, it goes like ding, ding.
Yeah. Like, and it comes up with a caption of you're overdoing the speed limit or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and speaking of captions, the screen sign is not aged much, but the grey screen is difficult to read. Can we make it bold?
So what do you mean grey screen?
The lettering,
So there is an option under the display settings, under the menu. Have you selected it for larger font? Have you done that yet?
I've got a larger font, but it's
Yep.
very faint grey, and I'd like it to be a bit darker.
Oh, okay. So that's the traffic aware cruise control, the grey bit of the speed limit. You mean
Well,
that grey part?
it's really all the lettering.
Actually, what Tesla should offer. Actually, is that I wonder whether that was an option. I know Tesla has got because what you really want is a high contrast mode.
Yep.
So you really want everything in high contrast.
Okay.
I know I don't think that's a setting. I know Tesla have implemented a reduced blue colors at night,
Okay.
which is kind of good and bad. I mean, the idea of that is so it's easier for you to get to sleep later. I mean, I personally would just prefer to have bright blue lights in a car to keep you awake. But yeah, okay, I might mention that as, can there be an option for higher contrast? And you're right too, because things like the speed limit, the numbering, the letters, the numbers are very thin. They're very skinny.
Yes.
They're not
Yes.
really bold. They're quite slim. It's sort of that stylish sort
Mm.
of thing. And yeah, you're right. If it's anything, it's, rather than being black against white or white
Yes.
against black.
Yes.
Um,
At night it's better because it is white against black.
oh, well, what you can do is actually go into your display settings under the menu
Okay.
and force night mode all the time,
Okay.
which you might prefer. It might be more visible.
Yep.
And in fact, I
Yes.
must say, sorry, it's dark mode, I think they call it. So
Yeah.
you can just force that to be 24/7. And
Okay.
if you prefer the look of that, I'd do
Then
that for
change
the
it. Yeah.
time being.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I guess you're right. Tesla, it would be good if Tesla had a deliberate high contrast mode
Yeah.
um,
I think
for,
so. Either that or the option to have the grey into bold, which might turn a bit darker.
yeah,
I've got very good long distance, but I use reading glasses and
yeah,
I can't really use them in the car.
yep.
And I am going to have cataracts done in September.
Oh, well,
Because,
actually, you'll find that
actually,
that will,
because of that.
well, the good thing about having that done, Carmen, is that will basically remove your long distance, your reading glasses,
Yep.
because as part of them whipping out your crappy milky lenses, you
Lenses. Yep.
get brand new plastic ones, which
Yes.
actually means if you're lucky, you'll have perfect vision and you'll
Yes.
have reading vision as well. So actually,
Yes.
you'll probably come back after that procedure and
Yes.
go, yeah, I don't care about grey or whatever. It's all,
Yes.
everything looks
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I've just started having serious problems,
Yep,
and driving is one of them because anywhere else I can use reading
reading.
glasses.
Yes, yep, yep,
Mm.
yep. But yeah, do
So,
for the time being, try dark mode.
Okay, I'll
Um,
do that because at night it's good. I mean, even the
yep,
screen now, that's fine. I can see all that without glasses.
yes, yep.
It's yeah. Okay, well, I'll try that. It's in the menu under
Under display. So you just
display.
hit the
Okay,
car menu, you
display.
search about
Yep.
halfway, you got
Okay,
display, and
display.
then you can just force, normally it's on auto, day night
Mm.
mode, but you can just
Okay.
force either day mode
Mm.
24/7 or
Yes.
night mode or dark
Yes.
mode
Yes, a
24/7.
bit like the iPhone. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
that. I'll
And
do
then do
that.
make sure that you've also set the font size to large,
Yes.
just in case you
Okay.
haven't. Like, that's
Yes.
only a feature that came about a year ago, I think, roughly.
Oh, in that case,
Roughly.
I haven't fiddled with it.
No, so
Oh,
that'll make everything slightly bigger,
yeah, that'd be good.
which will help as well.
Yep, for sure. Oh, that's
Cool.
good. Good, excellent. And now about Elon. What's Elon up to? Why isn't he taking care of his pet Tesla?
Oh, look, he's an underachiever. He always feels the need to do something else to fulfill his
Yeah.
ambitions. So, I was saying to Paul before the show, I mean, I converted all my super. I took all my. I've only got two super funds, they were industry funds, and they refused to buy Tesla shares. So I just started an SMSF,
Yes.
and I had two purchases. One on Monday, where I got a parcel for $290 a share, and last night I put an order
Oh,
in at 295.
yeah.
About halfway through the session, they'd only touched $295.46 or 56 cents. And I was a bit frustrated. Woke up in the morning and the share price literally just did a beautiful little spike dip down towards the end of the session and then sort of recovered back to above $300. So,
Oh,
look, if you're buying shares, if everything comes true as far as Robotaxi and Optimus and the Tesla share price, not financial advice, but in
hmm.
5 or 10 years' time is
Yes. Yeah.
$2,500 a share or whatever,
Yeah.
then all of these machinations it'll just be like, wow, we should have just bought more shares when they were so
Yes.
cheap.
I,
Um, I you know, there's
I
oh,
agree. There's no guarantee, but it's got good upside. I did tell
it
my
does.
stockbroker I put a figure on it and I said, look, you have to get me some more of this, because he sold most of them, because I'm sort of focusing on the ones that have dividends at the moment. And so I go against my own advice. And then, so he reminded me of that. And I said, all right, well, if it goes below this number, you have to buy some. And then I thought I might just do exactly what you've done. And just on the side, I've got an app called Revolut, which you would know about for travel.
Yep.
Yeah, you can just get them on that so easily.
Yes, and you can get
Yeah.
it on Revolut. I didn't know that about Revolut, but
Yeah.
you can get it on Stake. My son has
Yes.
got some Tesla shares on
Yep.
Stake.
Mm.
I buy them through a proper one of the big four banks platforms,
Okay.
but that's just what I've just done. I'm just sort of old school, but
Yeah.
yeah, look, if you can snap some up on one of those apps,
Yeah.
look, it's great fun. It's not going to change your life.
No. No.
You know, unless you had a few thousand of them or something like that, and then
Yes.
your life will be very much changed.
Yeah.
But look, there's no doubt. Well, I mean, we've got to be realistic as
Yes.
as
Yeah.
Tesla investors. You
Mm.
know, a lot of us just blindly presume that the Cybertruck would be producing hundreds of thousands of cars per year, and it looks like that's certainly not going to happen. So that's,
Mhm.
you know, Elon Musk is not perfect.
No.
You know,
I tell
he
you what, I
does.
do like following him on X. He's very succinct in his summaries. 2 words, 3 words. And I think
Yes.
I like telling stories, so I just can't summarize. And it's interesting. And I thought, oh, okay, I got that.
I think you
It's
could
good.
fill an entire streaming platform like Netflix with nothing but documentaries and movies about Elon Musk,
Yeah,
but and the people he interacts with. But
yes.
look, he's not perfect. Tesla's, you know, we all remember several years ago during, you know, a quarterly earnings report where Tesla projected that they would have 50% compound growth in car sales throughout the rest of this decade, and that clearly hasn't happened.
No.
Nowhere near. I think by about this time we should be due for about I don't know, 3 or 4 million cars per annum, and it's nothing like that. But there's no doubt that robotaxi is a thing. It's not just taking over Uber's business, because in fact the Uber business, its turnover in rideshare and Lyft and all the others, DD and all that, that's only a tiny proportion of the total addressable market, because those costs are several dollars per kilometre, whereas a robotaxi properly built and rolled out would be costs of vastly less than $1 per kilometre / $1 per mile. And therefore Tesla's addressable market would be vastly greater than all of Uber and all of that sort of stuff. So if you just looked at robotaxi with a sober sort of evaluation,
Yeah.
sober approach. I mean, a great thing is there's a classic example, and I've said this a few times. I forget exactly what they call it. It's like the hindsight price to earnings ratio. If you look at 5 years ago, the price to earnings ratio of Nvidia to today's earnings, its market cap 5 years ago was, I can't remember, let's call it $1 trillion, and its earnings today is $1 trillion. So its forward PE, looking with hindsight, was 1. So if you imagine, if you knew 5 years ago that in 5 years' time, Nvidia's price to earnings ratio would be 1 on
Yes.
on that cost, you would
Yes.
be just loading up with as many Nvidia shares as you
Yes.
possibly could. And obviously
Yes.
that's why Nvidia went from not very much to a lot.
Yes.
So obviously, if you believe that Tesla's earnings in 5 years' time could be something like $1 trillion, which is what its market cap is currently, then you obviously know that its share price would explode. And that's the analysis that sort of Kathy Wood has done with
No,
ARK Invest.
well, Kathy Wood herself has to answer to her ARK shares. I'm not very impressed.
No, the problem is, don't forget, ARK Invest, they
Yeah.
are still share traders.
Yep.
Well, they're structured so that they've got to get return on investment on an annual basis. Not so much like, say, Berkshire Hathaway, where they don't really care what their current share price is. They don't do dividends. Everything is just recapitalized into their share price, and they have very long horizons. Although a little bit more traditional investing, really. But yeah, ARK Invest, I mean, when Tesla's share price goes above a certain threshold, goes up, they have to sell down shares to keep within their 20% maximum or whatever it is,
Oh,
maximum
10%,
holding, or
10%.
10%. So they kind of limit themselves to their returns as well. And then when there's volatility, of course, you can get, I mean, look, Tesla shares in December last year were $450.
I know, I remember.
You know, and a few months ago they were $180. So
80, yeah.
yeah, so you can have that volatility, you know, in buying it.
Yeah, no,
But
it's one of those stocks, but isn't Elon now decided to form his own political
yes,
party in the States?
yeah, and look, and I'll be honest, as a patriotic Australian, do I really care that much about the United States? I mean, he's doing it for the right reasons that he sees. He rightly says that, you know, you cannot just keep indebting yourself to oblivion, because eventually you've got to pay the piper.
I
And
know.
there's two easy ways. A super easy way is just to devalue your currency. Say, I don't know, 100 to 1 is pretty good. Just to get hyperinflation, and hyperinflation is great for anyone that carries debt, because you can pay for it with funny money. So, you know, that's one way of doing it. Look, he is kind of right that in essence, in American politics, no one seems to care about the fact that debt is just rising exponentially. And again, debt has to be paid back eventually. You can't just, I mean, you can print money, but then of course that means it devalues anyone that's got assets. But look, he just does what he does. As a selfish Tesla investor, I would
Yes.
certainly wish that he just spent all this time on Tesla and a little bit on
Yes.
SpaceX and a little bit on, you know, Neuralink and
Yeah.
whatever. But look, you get the whole package. There's
Yes.
some volatility, and look, and I personally, I mean, I kind of think, oh well, you know, if people thought that his chance of being assassinated was high when he was working with Doge
Trump.
and
Oh, yeah.
President Trump for that matter,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you've got people from the left and the right that just want to kill him, literally. And in America, unfortunately, that's a nation of people that love to have weapons that can do that sort of stuff. In
Yes.
fact, it's their
Very.
God-given right to do that.
Yep.
So there's a non-zero chance that Musk could be assassinated. Now you'd say, well, that would be a great buying opportunity if you're a Tesla investor. But what I'm meaning to say is Tesla's share price would absolutely tank should that ever happen, which
Yes.
hopefully never will. But in reality, no one is irreplaceable.
Yes.
The graveyards of all the cities are full of people that thought they were irreplaceable. So just as when Steve Jobs, who really is Apple, he
Yeah.
in many ways built Apple, well, co-founded, built it, almost lost it, built it again, almost lost it again, and rebuilt it. Its market cap was I think it's $600 million the day he died. It's now several trillion. So Tesla is now large enough and sophisticated enough that it could survive something like the demise of Elon Musk, which, let's face it, he will be dead in the next 40 years regardless, because no
Yes.
one lives forever. But if it was the next 40 days or the next 40 years, Tesla will go on, and it's sufficiently big enough to actually go on without Elon Musk if that was necessary. So, you know, robotaxi will still happen, and Optimus will still happen. And like I said, even with Robotaxi, that probably adds another $1 trillion or doubling of Tesla's share price, regardless of everything else. And Optimus just turns everything upside down. Like I said before, Optimus is just going to change everything. It'll be the biggest disruption since the Industrial Revolution, by far, by absolutely far. And that could cause a lot of weird disruption and a lot of unrest, because people are projecting in 5 years you could have like a 30% unemployment rate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't see that in first world economies without
No.
instability.
Well, I think already AI is causing, I mean, every single company is using it. It's a damn
Yep.
nuisance. I mean, it's easy to do the copy and paste from ChatGPT, but there's some of the AI ones that are a bit more sophisticated. And as soon as they get better, they will start charging. So,
My wife, she works in medical,
yes.
and there are companies that are offering virtual reception whereby they'll charge, $1 or $2 per successfully completed phone call. And you think that can be very lucrative, but very efficient on your staff, because a lot of people just sit there answering silly phone questions. And, imagine call centers, Qantas, we've all been hacked, had our details stolen from Qantas's frequent flyer
Yeah.
database, because by necessity, if you outsource your call center to anywhere in the world, the person that answers the phone has to be able to prove it's you. And to do that, they need to have a local copy. They don't need to, but they usually have a local copy of a database, and you're vulnerable. If that was all done with AI in a secure system, that wouldn't have happened. So, but like the internet, everyone thought TV was going to rot everyone's brains. The internet was going to rot everyone's brains. And AI is going to rot everyone's brains. I mean, it just makes a lot more people more productive. And then, of course, Optimus is going to come along and do all the crappy physical labor that no one really wants to do. But again, that's going to be very disruptive as well. So the good thing is Tesla is at the forefront of that, albeit, in robotaxis, it's well behind Waymo at the moment. And in Grok 4 is going to be released in the next 10 hours or so, which would be interesting. It may or may not be behind others or similar to others.
There's
But
still too many errors. There's a lot of errors.
of course, and but look at human errors. There's
Yeah.
a diabolical number of human errors that happen
True.
that
True.
cost a lot of money as well. So
Yeah. Talk to the city
it's
of Netherlands.
that's just another. If you thought that's right, I mean, yes, and that's an interesting thing too. But we won't get into that. But
No.
but one good thing that Elon Musk always drives at Tesla is he always asks the fundamental question of what is able to be done within the limit of physics. And
Right.
that's whether it's building a car, building a robot, building a data center. It's like, how do we jam all this power into a data center? Well, we haven't got enough power, so we'll get generators. They then power all this stuff up, and the fluctuations cause it to sort of basically be unstable. Well, we'll just jam batteries into it. So he always asks, what's possible? The reason why SpaceX rockets cost 10% of Ariane Space's rockets is because Elon Musk says, well, if a rocket costs $1 billion, what is the cost of the elements or the chemicals or the compounds that went into it, the raw materials? Oh, that might be $100,000. Well, the difference between $100,000 and $100 million is the effort required to transform those compounds into something useful. I think he calls it the idiot index or ratio. It's a ratio between the raw material cost and the finished product cost. So he says then, well, we need to innovate to get the cost to transform the raw materials to something useful as low as possible, so we aren't as dumb at doing it. And that's what he always presses. So
Well, I think I'll introduce him to hairdressing. That's the highest paid job I know at the moment. It's ridiculous.
I don't know.
No.
Only for ladies.
Um,
Only for ladies.
For ladies, yeah, just
you
just
ladies
work
get
out
ripped
the
off.
just work out the material. It costs about $5 in product to do a dye, to do a hair color, and most people charge 300. Work that one out. And people are paying it. I won't. I do my own because of that, because I've done the Elon Musk equation, and it's just ridiculous. But they're getting, and they don't work. It takes 2 hours, but they don't work on the same person for 2 hours.
No, that's
In
right.
2
Yeah.
hours, they do 3. So, we're talking about $1,000 every 2 hours for a cost of about, in product, well, $5 to $10, well, say $7 max.
Yep.
How does that work?
Well, shout out to all those Tesla owning hairdressers out there. We're glad that you've got a Tesla.
Yes.
I mean, look, I could mount similar arguments to lawyers that earn them cost between many hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars per hour.
Yes,
But
I've experienced that.
indeed, me too. So yeah,
Have you
there's lots
heard
of.
about the guy who?
I'll get
There's
you
a
in a sec, Mike.
doctor. There's a doctor at the moment who is writing scripts, and he's writing
One every
something
4
like
minutes.
700 a day.
That doctor who won't be named, well, I don't even know his name. They're getting a knock on the door from the TGA, or is it TGA or something like that? That's to do with medical cannabis, and
Yes,
it's alleged, and this is when we will use allegedly. It's alleged that some of these online prescribers even provide coaching on how to answer the online questions so as to guarantee that you would fit the profile to get a script of material that they're actually providing themselves. But anyway, we'll put that one aside. Yeah, Mike, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so this is for Carmen, actually, and
Yep.
far be it, Carmen, for me to offer advice, but I'm the same as you. I can see a gnat sitting on the lighthouse at Rocknest, but I can't see the Tesla screen, and it's actually worse for me at night. So I don't know if this helps, but I'll just show you. So at night, what I do, or a very cloudy day, because I don't like the glare. Can I get my head in the screen again? So these are my normal glasses, and they sort of take up your full eye. But what I do when it's cloudy or at night, I have these $10 chemist reading glasses, these cheapies.
Yes.
And I sit them on the end of my nose like that.
Oh, yes.
Can you see the difference?
Peer
Yes.
over. Peer over.
Yeah.
I have
When I'm looking
resorted to
forward and
that.
driving, it's no problem. They don't come into view. I mean, I can
Yeah.
sort of see them, but if I look down at the
Yeah.
screen, the screen's now perfectly in focus because I exactly have the
Yep.
same issue as you.
Yeah.
So the issue is, what do you do during the day? Because you probably wear sunglasses, right?
Yes.
Like most people. So what I've done for me personally is there are a couple of suppliers via, they've got websites. They're little half moon shaped
Yes.
stick-on lenses, and whilst they require a bit of placement in the bottom of your sunglasses, once you get them in the right spot, they work well, and they cost like $15 to $30 a pair for a set, and you get them at different strengths.
Mm.
So I don't know if that helps until you get your eyes sorted.
Yeah, it probably does.
Because they're so cheap.
Yeah, I have actually found $5 +3 sunglasses.
Yep.
And I've been doing exactly what you said.
Oh yeah. But how do you look forward though? Because you don't want +3 when you're driving when you're looking.
No, I do
forward.
what you do. Just have them low.
Oh, you have them on the end of your nose, yeah.
Yeah.
Except I have another issue which you can't help, and I am going to get it fixed next week. But I broke my nose.
Oh.
Yes, I walked into a glass balustrade. I fell over.
Oh, nasty.
And so that's another issue with glasses. So that I'm definitely going to get all of these issues done in the next couple of months.
Sounds like you're up for some major maintenance there.
Yeah, it is.
Long-term
It is
maintenance there,
refurbishment.
Carmen.
Refurbishment, Harold.
Yep,
Carmen?
it'll all happen. It'll happen to the best of us, Carmen. Yeah, unfortunately, it's actually fortunate that we live long enough to require it, which is good.
Yes.
But no, definitely, yeah, do your dark mode for the time being.
Yeah, I'll try that.
But I will actually mention it to Tesla. It would be helpful because not everyone has got brilliant vision like do or good enough vision, and high contrast is something that is a thing, and it shouldn't be too difficult to do. So,
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
definitely
Elon's
push for it.
getting older. It might happen to him.
Too right, too right. Yes, yes, exactly.
I saw the thing in chat about Specsavers. I went to Specsavers looking for sunglasses that were bifocal, and they're not cheap.
No, because what they generally do is they have to cut them as clear, and then they soak them in this bath of stuff that infiltrates into the plastic to form the sunglass effect.
And they're
And
usually not dark enough for me because I was born on a darker planet, so glare is an issue.
yes,
Well, it's a bit of karma for me because I used to do interior design and looked after the hotel labeling of shampoos and conditioners. And you try and have a nice label that is all nice, small
pretty,
and
yes.
stylish and all of that sort of stuff. And when people used to complain that it was too small, I used to say, "Oh well, get glasses." But it's happened to me now.
That's right. When you were young and you had good supple lenses, it was all good, but it catches up eventually, doesn't it? So
It
yeah.
does. It does.
On that note, time has caught up with us, and we are at the 2-hour mark. So we should probably. I should just see if there's any last minute questions or comments before we see this show out. No, I think we're pretty good. So I don't think Pete's with us. So of course I would usually ask Pete how he would round out this show, and what he would invariably say was, as always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve. To which I would always answer, and the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance.
Fantastic.
Have a wonderful week, everyone. And I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Harold. Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.